Whole language is a philosophy of reading and a discredited educational method, originally developed for teaching literacy in English to young children. The method became a major model for education in the United States, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK in the 1980s and 1990s, despite there being no scientific support for the method's effectiveness. It is based on the premise that learning to read English comes naturally to humans, especially young children, in the same way that learning to speak develops naturally. Whole language approaches to reading instruction are typically contrasted with phonics based methods of teaching reading and writing. Phonics based methods emphasize instruction for decoding and spelling. Whole language practitioners disagree with that view and instead focus on teaching meaning and making students read more. The scientific consensus is that whole language based methods of reading instruction, such as teaching children to use context clues to guess the meaning of a printed word, are not as effective as phonics based approaches. Whole language is an educational philosophy that is complex to describe, particularly because it is informed by multiple research fields, including but not limited to education, linguistics, psychology, sociology, and anthropology. Here's a concise summary of the key strands that run through the whole language approach to literacy. First is meaning centered learning. Reading and writing. Whole language emphasizes making meaning in reading and expressing meaning in writing. Next is constructivist approach. Students interpret text and freely express ideas through writing, often using daily journal entries. And lastly, quality literature. High quality and culturally diverse literature is central to the approach. Another strand is integration and authenticity. We have curricular integration, which means literacy is integrated into other subjects like math, science, and social studies. Guided reading groups, where students engage in small guided reading groups. Lastly, reading and writing are done for authentic purposes. The third strand is motivation and context, where the love of books and engaging reading materials is emphasized. Phonics is taught contextually within meaningful language use, and students learn the role of phonics, grammar, spelling, capitalization, and punctuation in diverse social contexts. The advantages of this approach are the whole language approach exposes children to stimulating literature from the start. Interesting books capture their attention and make learning more enjoyable. It encourages creativity in learning. Children have room to express themselves during the process, moving away from traditional teaching methods. Instead of focusing solely on phonetics, this approach emphasizes recognizing core words and sentences. Children learn to read and write with meaning, using language for real-life tasks like leaving notes or making lists. The following disadvantages are lack of phonetics. The whole language approach may not provide sufficient phonetics instruction. As a result, learners might struggle with spelling and recognizing unfamiliar words. Accuracy oversight. Sometimes the approach overlooks accuracy in favor of creativity. Students may not pay enough attention to precise word reading. Teacher challenges. Educators may find it challenging to frame their curriculum using this approach, as it diverges from traditional phonics-based teaching methods. The whole language approach encourages holistic engagement with language, recognizing words as meaningful parts of a larger system. It differs from synthetic or analytical phonics, focusing on understanding and using language in real world context. In summary, the whole language approach offers engaging literature and fosters creativity, but it may not suit all learners and can sometimes neglect accuracy in reading and writing. The bilingual method. The bilingual method is an approach to teaching English that combines the use of the student's native language, or the first language, with the target language, in this case, English. Let's explore this method in more detail. In the bilingual method, teachers utilize a combination of English and the student's native language, which could be Filipino, Arabic, French, and more, to deliver instruction. Here are the characteristics of bilingual method. Simultaneous text and speech. Unlike the audiovisual method, which delays the introduction of printed text, the bilingual method makes the written text available from the very beginning. Learners see the shape of individual words while hearing the spoken sentences. Bilingual conveyance of meaning. The method avoids mindless repetition by conveying meanings bilingually. Instead of mere parroting, learners understand the utterance equivalent in both languages. Picture aids for recall and practice. Pictures primarily aid recall and practice of related dialogue sentences rather than serving as direct conveyors of meaning. Three-phase structure. Presentation, where students reproduce a dialogue. Practice, where students orally vary and recombine dialogue sentences. Production, where students engage in extended message-oriented communication. The following are the principles of the bilingual method. The understanding of words and sentences in foreign languages can be made easier by the use of mother tongue. There is no need to create artificial situations for explaining the meaning of words and sentences of the target language. Bilingual method is a combination of the direct method and the grammar translation method. So, what are the advantages of bilingual method? Students become functional bilinguals. When the students aim to become fully bilingual in terms of language learning, this method is considered to be the appropriate one. When the students begin with the language learning process, their success in the learning depends upon the competence and confidence of their language teacher. Never miss out on a lesson. When the mother tongue is firmly established in the minds of the students by the age of 7 or 8, it becomes easy to learn difficult words and grammar. Thus, this method helps to save time by not creating artificial situations unnecessarily to explain or convey meanings in English. Give importance to other languages. In this method, importance is given to the mother tongue and its culture. Thus, it does not lead to substitution of one means of communication for another. Accessibility. When students start learning a language using this method, they find a level of familiarity. Through the use of the mother tongue, the teacher ensures that the learning is happening. Discipline. Learning the local language is considered a sure way to improve behavior management skills. It also helps in delivering instructions related to lesson activities. It's a teacher's tool. It is important to know that it's predominantly the teacher who makes use of first language. The students will not be using their native tongue much in the classroom. Builds strong foundation for reading right from the start. The bilingual method uses written form of the language, which allows students learn the shapes of the words as they repeat the words orally. However, bilingual method has also its limitations. They are: if the teacher fails to carry out this method properly, then it can degenerate into pure translation method. This method can confuse the learner while contrasting the features of two languages. The teacher must be fluent in both the languages in order to make the concepts clear. Students may develop dependency on their mother tongue, slows down learning process and takes longer time to learn and be proficient in the target language. Dodson's experimental data, validated by subsequent research, supports the effectiveness of this method. In summary, the bilingual method fosters oral skills through a thoughtful blend of text, speech, and visual aids, challenging traditional norms and enhancing language learning experiences. Total physical response. Dr. James J. Asher. He founded TPR, or Total Physical Response, in the early 60s. The basic premise of TPR is to coordinate language with physical movement. As a young child, he was often cared for by his Arabic grandmother who didn't speak English. The need to respond to her commands contributed further to his understanding of how a second language develops. TPR, or Total Physical Response, is based upon the way that children learn their mother tongue. Parents have language buddy conversations with their children. The parent instructs, and the child physically responds to this. The parent says, "Look at mommy," or "Let's dance," and the child does so. These conversations continue for many months before the child actually starts to speak itself. Even though it can't speak during this time, the child is taking in all of the language, the sounds and the patterns. Eventually, when it has decoded enough, the child reproduces the language quite spontaneously. TPR attempts to mirror this effect in the language classroom. How can I use it in class? In the classroom, the teacher plays the role of parent. She starts by saying a word or a phrase and demonstrating an action. Examples are, "Pick up your toys." The teacher bends down and picks up a toy from the floor. "Put your toys back in the box." The teacher puts the picked up toy back in the toy box, then the child follows. "Open your book." The teacher opens a book. Another place where TPR can be easily used is while storytelling. As curious learners, students always pay extra attention to stories. Here is a video showing TPR in the classroom.
Hello. Okay, now we're going to do a little story, okay? Now, you do it with me, okay? You do it with me. Now, say hello to your mom. Hello. Say hello to your mom. Hello. You are hungry. Say hello to your mom. Your mom shows you some plums. Your mom says eek. Eek. Okay? Say hello to your mom. You are hungry. Your mom shows you some plums. Cut open a plum.
When should I use TPR? It can be used to teach and practice many things. Vocabulary connected with actions. Examples: smile, chop, headache, wriggle. Tenses: past, present, future, and continuous aspects. Examples: every morning I clean my teeth. I make my bed. I eat breakfast. Classroom language. Examples are, open your books. Stand up. Close your eyes. So why should I use it in the classroom? Because it is fun and engaging. TPR adds excitement to the class, lifting the pace and mood. Memorable. Students remember phrases and words better through physical actions. Kinesthetic learning. It suits active learners who thrive in movement. Scalability. Works well in both large and small classes. Mixed ability classes. The physical actions convey meaning effectively, benefiting all students. And lastly, it requires little preparation or materials. However, TPR also has its drawbacks. The following are embarrassment for students. Students who are not accustomed to physical responses might feel embarrassed initially. When the teacher actively demonstrates the actions, students tend to feel more comfortable copying them. Limited precision. TPR places minimal emphasis on precision. While it effectively conveys basic language rules, it may not address finer details or nuances. Progression challenges. As students advance, it becomes more challenging to introduce new commands. TPR or total physical response is most effective for beginners and early learners, but its applicability diminishes as students become more proficient. In summary, TPR or total physical response is a dynamic approach, and while it has its drawbacks, it remains a valuable tool for language teaching and comprehension through physical responses. Dr. West's new method. So, what is Dr. West's new method? Dr. Michael Philip West in 1888-1973 conducted an extensive research and experiments on the problems of teaching English as a foreign language in India at the time of British rule. The new method is the outcome of his research. It stood as a reaction against the direct method. It focuses on the English language needs of Indians. He states that learners in India need to read English, write it, speak it, and comprehend it when spoken. The main features of Dr. West's new method are as follows. Number 1. Reading. According to Dr. West, teachers should teach silent reading skills first to improve reading comprehension skills. So, teachers lay more emphasis on the habit of silent reading. In order to develop silent reading as a habit in learners, he proposed a reading book which has interesting reading text and selected vocabulary. Dr. West recommended an essential vocabulary list of 2,280 words, which have been classified as general words. Examples are excellent, beautiful, polite. Essential words. Examples are that, in, the, will. Common environmental words. Examples are pencil, table, pen, plate. Specific environmental words. Examples are plant, park, stream, and hill. Another feature is oral work. Dr. West, emphasizing silent reading, incorporates oral practice primarily through reading aloud before silent reading commences. Additionally, he offers an alternative concise primer for sentence-based speech training. Dr. West acknowledges that speaking lends authenticity to subsequent language reading. The primer is intended for teachers who wish to begin with minimal speech training, considering oral work as a preliminary step toward mastering the art of reading. And the last is training in speech. Dr. West's approach to speech training includes differentiating between speech and vocabulary. He defines the ideal speaking vocabulary as a set of words that are easy to learn and use, yet capable of accurately expressing a wide range of ideas. Notably, the speaking vocabulary is smaller than the reading vocabulary. Dr. West recommends a minimum of 1,158 words for effective communication in everyday situations. Dr. West's new method has several advantages. The following are exposure to a wide range of reading materials, potential for faster language acquisition through reading, lastly, access to factual and fictional content in English. However, Dr. West's new method has some drawbacks. They are neglected spoken language skills, limited interaction and practice in speaking, and overemphasis on reading might hinder overall language development. In conclusion, while Dr. West's new method had its merits, particularly in emphasizing reading comprehension, it fell short in addressing spoken language skills. Its historical significance reminds us of the evolving landscape of language teaching methodologies. Modern approaches now integrate various language skills, recognizing the importance of both written and spoken communication. As educators continue to refine language pedagogy, we build upon the foundations laid by pioneers like Dr. West, striving for more holistic and effective language learning experiences.